John McTiernan might be one of Hollywood's clearest examples of a filmmaker who went from indestructible genius to vanished without a trace. The man who gave us Predator and Die Hard didn't just stumble. He nosedived so hard the industry now pretends he never existed. And yet, once upon a time, McTiernan was one of the most respected, in-demand directors in the business. His career began with a small supernatural thriller called Nomads, starring a young Pierce Brosnan long before he became James Bond. The movie wasn't particularly good, but it caught the attention of 20th Century Fox. They needed someone to direct their answer to Alien, and McTiernan ended up being that someone. The project became Predator. It's hard to determine exactly how much credit McTiernan deserves for turning it into a classic, because he was fully prepared to shoot the original version of the creature, a bug-eyed red spandex giraffe straight out of a 1960s student sci-fi film. He also famously removed Jean-Claude Van Damme from the role, despite producer Joel Silver being convinced Van Damme would be perfect as a nimble alien hunter. McTiernan reportedly took one look at how tiny Van Damme looked next to Arnold Schwarzenegger and asked him to leave. In another version of the story, Van Damme signed the contract without realizing his face wouldn't appear on camera. When he learned he'd be completely invisible inside a rubber suit, he started provoking his own firing by demanding to be credited alongside Schwarzenegger. Either way, production went on hold until Stan Winston and James Cameron, fresh off their collaboration on Aliens, stepped in. Cameron himself sketched the now iconic mandibles, and the new Predator design saved the film from becoming a very expensive B-movie. Predator earned $100 million worldwide on a $15 million budget, and Fox immediately decided McTiernan should be their go-to action director. He rejected Die Hard several times, insisting the script was too simple and absolutely guaranteed to fail. But after countless rewrites and relentless persuasion from Joel Silver, McTiernan finally caved. The result: John McClane and Hans Gruber, two of the most beloved figures in action cinema. On a $28 million budget, Die Hard made $140 million worldwide and launched McTiernan into the stratosphere. Then came The Hunt for Red October, which pulled in nearly $200 million and cemented him as a director powerful enough to demand final cut and even remove actors from production simply because he disliked their presence. And this is where the first crack in the armor appeared. In 1991, McTiernan was offered the next Jack Ryan film, a continuation of Red October. But once he learned the villains in Patriot Games would be Irish, he backed out, citing his own Irish heritage. Alec Baldwin also walked away. Paramount replaced them both with Harrison Ford and Philip Noyce. McTiernan chose instead to make a more intimate, personal film, Medicine Man with Sean Connery and Lorraine Bracco. It wasn't a total disaster, but it became his first real failure, and McTiernan took it incredibly hard. He blamed the studio, claiming they marketed the movie like an action thriller about Connery punching villains to save the rainforest, when in reality the film had nearly zero action. Even if the marketing had been perfect, Medicine Man still had big problems. The budget ballooned to $40 million thanks to Connery's salary and odd production decisions, including transporting plants, animals, and even indigenous tribes into Mexico. The next big blow was Last Action Hero, a movie still remembered as a failure for both McTiernan and Schwarzenegger. Many blame Arnold for pushing major script changes, softening the satire, and trying to make the movie more family-friendly. Early drafts portrayed Jack Slater as a dim-witted bodybuilder who didn't realize the truth until the end. The studio also added the animated cat detective and drastically changed the young protagonist, tilting the film too far into children's territory. Both Schwarzenegger and McTiernan later blamed Columbia Pictures for the film's collapse, and specifically for the single worst release date imaginable. Columbia decided to premiere Last Action Hero just 1 week after Jurassic Park. Releasing your blockbuster a week after Spielberg's Dinosaurs is like opening a lemonade stand during a hurricane. Jurassic Park dominated the box office for a month straight and vaporized everything in its path. Crew members later said they begged Columbia months in advance to move the release date, but the studio refused. Last Action Hero went on to earn 6 Razzie nominations, including Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Worst Director, and Worst Screenplay. Harsh criticism for a film that's nowhere near as bad as its reputation suggests. In 1995, McTiernan bounced back with what many consider his final great film, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Bigger, funnier, and hugely successful, it became the highest-grossing movie in the world that year. Some hardcore fans disliked the shift from a confined setting to a citywide adventure, but audiences embraced it. Unfortunately, this was the last time McTiernan would stand on solid ground. His career collapsed almost immediately afterward. First came The 13th Warrior, made with Michael Crichton. Endless reshoots, creative disputes, and competing visions inflated the budget to a staggering $160 million. The film earned only $60. He had a brief resurgence with The Thomas Crown Affair, a stylish and well-received heist movie starring Pierce Brosnan. But then came Rollerball, a film so shockingly bad it's difficult to believe the same man who made Die Hard was behind it. After that, McTiernan directed only one more movie, Basic, which also flopped. Despite these failures, McTiernan still had several major projects in the works, until everything imploded with the Anthony Pellicano wiretapping scandal. Pellicano, Hollywood's notorious illegal private investigator, was charged with spying on actors, producers, and studio executives, including Rollerball's own producer, Chuck Roven. Investigators uncovered that McTiernan had hired Pellicano, and after years of legal battles, McTiernan was sentenced in 2013 to a year in federal prison. Pellicano got 15, and that was the final blow. McTiernan never returned to feature filmmaking after his failures, his legal trouble, and his time behind bars. In 2017, he briefly resurfaced to direct an ad for the video game Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon. But his Hollywood career had ended long before that. Quietly, abruptly, and without the comeback he once seemed destined for. That was Frameback. See you on the next Rewind.